Killer Instinct is a tournament fighter arcade game developed by Rare and published by Midway and Nintendo. It was first released as an arcade cabinet game and then a year later ported over to Super Nintendo and Game Boy. The story involves a powerful corporation named UltraTech that is organizing a fighting tournament called Killer Instinct. Besides the regular fighters you would hope to see in a typical tournament fighting game, UltraTech enters some of their very own lab-created monsters to test their strength in the tournament. The story was later adapted into a comic book series, which was also published by Acclaim Comics. The characters to appear in the game include SABREWULF, the werewolf, wearing a crop top not unlike a 1980s bodybuilder, Jago, the ninja, Combo, the boxer, not unlike Balrog, Spinal, the swashbuckling skeleton, Thunder, the tomahawk-wielding Native American, Glacius, the ice guy, Sindor, the fire guy, but he looks kind of like the fire guy from Metal Gear Solid 5, the shape-shifting orchid, Riptor, the velociraptor human hybrid, and Fulgore, the cyborg. Each character has a really well-designed sprite and a distinct look and animation style that really drives home the originality of these characters. The stages are pretty diverse for the most part, including environments like deserts and temples, and on top of cityscapes and down on the gritty streets. And usually when you kick someone off one of these landscapes, they have a whole animation where you can see them hit the ground and crash into a car, so that's kind of fun. Personally, I see a lot of similarities to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Like, Combo he's basically like Balrog, come on. And Glacius, I mean, it's a stretch, but he could be kind of like Sub-Zero, and Fulgore is kind of like Sector, I see. And Thunder, and then Nightwolf, like, come on. Now, speaking of other similarities to other games this one has, listen to this. Sounds a lot like the Hadouken from, I don't know, a pretty popular tournament fighter from around the same time. I don't know, maybe you can figure out which one it's called. The game features some pretty awesome combat and gore on a level with that of Mortal Kombat. You can even be a dinosaur kicking people in the crotch. Now, I mean, it's no comparison, I guess, at the same time to pulling someone's head out of their body or ripping their spines or their guts open, but it's pretty good for me. I like that. Overall, it's a pretty sweet tournament fighting game. I mean, it's a tournament fighter, so like how much more could they put into it, but it almost puts me in mind of Mutant Fighter, where you can also play as monsters and creatures just duking it out. I mean, you can't do RKOs and stuff, but it's still pretty cool. Now, Killer Instinct spawned a couple of sequels. Killer Instinct 2, which was only released as an arcade cabin, and then later ported to Super Nintendo, but that version was never really released. It did eventually get an N64 release under the title Killer Instinct Gold. In 2013, the series got a reboot by Double Helix Games, and was a launch title for the Xbox One, so there you go. I don't have my hands on these two versions of the game right now, but I do have Killer Instinct for Game Boy. Now, the Game Boy port has all the same characters as the Super Nintendo version, except for, I think, Riptor. That's the only one, but that's not much of a loss, I guess. He's only a dinosaur. But it does take a bit of a dive with the graphics. I mean, obviously, this is a Game Boy game, so it has a limited color palette. So the in-game graphics are a little choppy. Not horrible, but not anything great. But on the other hand, the cutscene and title cards still kind of retain a decent resemblance of the Super Nintendo version. Combat in this version still holds up to the Super Nintendo one, allowing you to continue the easy to pick up and jump right into the game kind of controls. It's very easy. I mean, it's a Game Boy. It only had like 2-3 buttons. I mean, it's nothing crazy. You can't really do all kinds of different moves and stuff, but I mean, it can't get any easier than these two buttons, really. As awesome as Killer Instinct is, with its cool crop top wearing werewolves and the gore and the fighting and all that jazz, and its easy gameplay, I still suck at this game. It's true. I've never been any good at tournament fighters. It doesn't matter how easy it is, how simple the combos are. I've always sucked at tournament fighters.
Fucking thing sucks!
I can never remember the combos. I just end up panicking and usually resorting to crouching or going for the groin. That's all I can do. But overall, I think Killer Instinct is a pretty solid game series. If you haven't had a chance to play it now before Halloween's over. I know it's not specifically a Halloween game, but I mean, I included it in there because you can play as werewolves and dinosaurs and skeletons with swords and all that creepy, spooky jazz. So, I mean, it's a pretty fun game if you just want to play as a werewolf and you're tired of Mutant Fighter and you just want to, like, clock people around and chew their faces off. It's a pretty sweet game. It's got good graphics. It's easy to pick up and play. So I suggest to play it before Halloween's over. It might get you in the spooky season mood. I don't know. I won! Magic wand. Oh. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone trivia game.